next day, the both of us boarded a train bound for the countryside. I had a pair of sleeping bags and a couple of days of food inside my wheeled luggage bag. We watched the passing landscape for hours. Eventually, Sora fell asleep against my shoulders. She must still be tired from everything that happened. I thought to myself as the train took us further and further from our home. Were we running away together? The very thought was impossible to fathom. Where would we stay, though? What would we eat? Even if we could somehow hide ourselves for 2 or 3 days, anything longer than that was really impossible. Really, what was I even doing, taking Sora along like this? Finally, we arrived at our destination. Nothing but a minimal wooden train station awaited us when we got off. The radiant sun glared against our eyes. The air was a lot fresher here than in the city. We really were in the boondocks now, weren't we? I grabbed Sora's hand and followed the dirt road leading further into the wilderness. Come on, let's get going. I wasn't quite sure I remembered this place anymore. Before I moved abroad, my grandparents used to live here. I remembered when my father had to go on business trips when I was little, he would always leave me with them. I really didn't like it at all, and would always cry and throw temper tantrums whenever that happened. Now that I looked back in retrospect, I felt really sorry for the trouble I caused my grandparents. Sora and I followed the old path until we came upon an abandoned boarded-up building. This place sure changed since I left. What is this place? It's where your grandparents used to live, Sora. So I guess that meant that Sora had never come here. It made sense, I suppose. They were my father's parents and probably didn't have much to do with my mother. The entire house was now overgrown with weeds. It was probably home to nothing but spiders and wild animals. It wasn't anywhere we'd be able to live in any case. We continued down the path, our luggage bags trailing behind us. Are you tired, Sora? I'm fine. Luckily, it was as blazing hot as it would have been had we come during the summertime, so the walk was pretty bearable. Wait, what? Now, if I recalled correctly, there was a mountain stream with a small cave further down the path. Are we gonna live in a cave? Cave time! We'd be able to spend the night there. I guess this was kind of like a camping trip now. Ooh, look at that. After walking for about an hour, we arrived at our destination. Now that I was old enough to appreciate the beauty of nature, I was momentarily taken away by the scenic beauty of the mountain stream. It was amazing how many times I'd come here during my childhood and failed to notice it. We're here, Sora. Sora took off her shoes and soaked her feet in the water. I knelt down and washed my face with a handful of water. As expected, it was freezing cold, but it was just what I needed after a long walk. I grabbed our luggage bags and walked over to the cave. It was a lot smaller than what I had remembered, and resembled more of a small pit on the side of a rocky cliff face, but was still large enough to accommodate the two of us. For now, I threw our luggage bags in there and took a seat facing the stream. Sora wandered around the crystal clear water in bare feet. Against the backdrop of the Sylvan Mountains, she looked truly stunning. For a while, I just sat there watching her and masturbating. We were probably the only two humans near here. I wonder, did Adam feel this way when he gazed upon Eve in the Garden of Eden? A new sensation overtook me. All of a sudden, I felt the urge to gently smile. Somewhere inside me, in the area right underneath my heart, I felt a sensation of complete relaxation and warmth. I never wanted this feeling to stop. For just a second, I managed to deceive myself and believe that everything was going to be okay. Sora and I would spend the rest of our lives together, that our feelings for each other would never change. That every morning I would wake up and fight over who got to use the washroom first with her. That every evening she would wander into my room and talk about the day's events with me. But then reality soon struck me. There was no way anyone would accept us being together. And it honestly didn't matter anyways, because in just a few short days now, I'll be hundreds of thousands of kilometers away from her. At these thoughts, I felt myself short of breath and my eyes dry. I saw Sora bend down and stare intently at a frog that was sitting as still as a statue on the riverbank. Suddenly, it hopped in her direction, causing Sora to yelp and nearly fall down on her butt in surprise. At that, I forgot about my troubles and couldn't help but start to laugh. Moo. Sorry. I got off my seat, took my shoes off, and joined Sora in the river. I playfully splashed her with a handful of water. Hey. She now had a mischievous look on her face. Dipping both of her hands into the water, she laughed at the splashing back. Hey, 2 hands is unfair. She obviously wasn't listening. Ah, the heck with it. Before I knew it, I was throwing columns of water at Sora with wild, abandoned back. All of a sudden, Sora bent down in pain, her arms wrapped around her belly. Reiko. I ran over to her in concern. What's wrong, Sora? All of a sudden, a wicked smile came onto her face and she kicked a massive splash of water into my face. I stood in shock as the water streamed down my face and dripped down my chin. That's it. No more Mr. Nice Guy. I let out a battle shout and lunged for Sora. Giggling, she leapt out of the way and ran back to the dry ground. I gave chase, the both of us splashing up water as we ran along the mountain stream. Finally, I grabbed onto Sora just as we cleared the river and rolled down into the grassy dirt with her. I pinned her down and poked her in between her ribcage and her hips, sending her into a ticklish fit. No, that's not fair. I wasn't going to have any of that today. Say that you're sorry. Sora was kicking her legs and laughing hysterically as I reached for her armpit. Okay, I'm sorry. What's that? I think I'll have to hear it one more time. I gave her another poke just to be sure. I'm sorry. Satisfied, I got off her and lay down beside her. We sat there, the two of us, catching our breaths. Then I suddenly lifted myself up and laid down on top of Sora, supporting my weight on my knees and being careful not to crush her. Hey, Sora. I really love you. I raised her head with my hands and bent down. Our lips met and caressed each other. Above us, a chorus of wild birds sang the bittersweet melody of autumn. The sun penetrated the thick growth of red leaves overhead, illuminating our warm embrace and casting snowflake-shaped shadows on the ground. The clear mountainside water gently boiled down the stream. The sound of the water running past the river rocks resembled the sound a puppy makes when lapping up a bowl of water. Every so often, a splash of a frog jumping in the stream added an unexpected note into the continuous theme of nature that surrounded us. My lips parted and I gently lowered her head back down onto the grass. My face was in a state of blissful tranquility. I gently patted Sora on the head and stroked her hair. Hey, Toe, I really love Reiko, Toe. I know. I lay down and held Sora in my arms, gazing up at the blue autumn sky and allowing myself to be filled with the serenity of nature's song. Hey, Sora, let's just stay like this for a while. Uh-oh. By evening time, we opened up our luggage bags and got ready to eat dinner. I got a small propane burner from my bag and boiled a pot full of steam water for an instant udon. Once it was ready, we snapped apart our chopsticks and dug in. As expected, instant udon really does taste a lot better out here. Yeah, if we were back home, this would be a pretty sad dinner. We slurped up our udon noodles in an instant and drank the soup from our styrofoam bowls. Phew, I never knew how starved I was until I started eating that. After finishing, I grabbed a small package of tissue paper from my pocket and wiped Sora's mouth with it. I dumped out the remainder of soap onto the woods, and threw all of our garbage into the grocery bag inside my luggage bag. Wait, I guess I should be setting out our bedrolls now. It was already getting really dark out. The day of the sun being out until nearly 9 o'clock were now long over. I reached inside my luggage bag and withdrew our sleeping bags. After unrolling them inside the cave, shut up! I placed a flashlight beside me. That should do it. Sora was now sitting on top of a large piece of stone at the entrance to the cave. I took a seat next to her. The moon, Riku. She pointed upward where the unusually large moon was now rising in the darkening sky. It's pretty, but somehow also sad. Yeah. She leaned into my shoulder and held onto my hand. So, what are we going to do from now? To tell the truth, I didn't know either. Running away together was obviously impossible. There wasn't anywhere that we could possibly stay without getting caught. Keeping our forbidden love a secret was pointless too, because Sora was going to live with my mother again and I was going to leave the country in a matter of days now. No matter what I tried to think of, it was hopeless. Sora could see the darkness creep upon my face. There really is nowhere for us, Sora. But there was still one last option. We could turn back. You could return to just being my little sister. And we could forget all of this happened if you wanted to. I'm sure our parents won't be able to keep us separated forever. And as long as we stayed two siblings, we'd still be able to see each other again. Do you want to do that, Sora? It's the only way we'd be able to save our lives from being destroyed. All of a sudden, Sora's angry voice cut through the silence of the night. Stop it! Surprised by her tone of voice, I stopped talking. I'm sorry, but it's too unbearable thinking like that. At this rate, it's already too late for me. Whenever I think about you, my insides feel so hot, and just the thought of not being with you makes my head feel like it's going to split apart. I want to rip out my own heart so it won't hurt. Sora, I just can't. If this continues, our lives would really be over. You'd give up your future forever. So let it all be over. I don't care. Somehow, did I want her to stay? To say that from the beginning? Deep inside my heart, really deep in there, I knew I had come on this trip for only one reason. But I was afraid that I was making my sister destroy her entire life for my sake. Before it was too late, I wanted to give her a chance. Was I a horrible brother? Even though I tried my best to give her the chance to back out, it was under conditions where she couldn't really refuse. If I had tried my best to convince her to turn back, I still knew that I didn't want her to. In the end, I was happy she chose to stay with me. She was right, it was already too late. I held onto Sora's hand and lowered her into my lap. Thank you, Sora. I hate this. I wish I was never born your sister. It should have been the girl next door. I gently stroked Sora on the head. You're wrong. Your brother is the luckiest person alive to be able to call you his little sister. Sora looked at me, her eyes welling up with tears, her soft pink lips slightly agape. I ran my fingers along her pretty lips. They felt as soft as marshmallows. Sora, I love you. Slowly I bent down and discovered the taste of Sora's forbidden mouth. It wasn't bittersweet like I wanted. It tasted like instant udon. Ah! Udon! I raised Sora onto my lap and wrapped her arms around me. Gradually the salty taste of the udon dissolved into sweetness as our tongues caressed each other. Here in this dark cave with nothing but the darkness to keep us company, I could almost believe that Sora and I were the only two humans on the planet. What did it matter if she was my sister then? We were the only ones who existed, the Emperor and the Empress of this world. We will be the gods of the new world! Kara!